Hi, my name is Michal. I'm a PhD student at Tau University under the supervision of Eyal Ronen. And today I want to talk to you about our paper, Windows into the Past, where we exploited legacy crypto in Kerberos implementations. So we broke the Kerberos protocol, and the Kerberos protocol is supported by the most common operating systems, including Linux, Mac, and the closed-source implementation of Windows. It's used by a variety of different organizations, including universities, hospitals, and even government organizations. We used the Bleichenbacher attack, and we made it more practical enough to attack and create an end-to-end attack against Windows. And this is significant because Windows is pretty much used everywhere. So the Kerberos protocol is an authentication protocol over non-secure networks, which uses a trusted entity that can verify the different entities on the network and provide secure communication between them and secure access to resources and services. If we take a simplified look at Kerberos, then a user that wants to access these resources, perform logging into the domain, or access remote files, PowerShell sessions, or even emails, the user inputs their password, and the client performs Kerberos authentication, after which the user has access to the resources. Now, the issue with this is that passwords are susceptible to dictionary attacks, phishing attacks, breaches, and if any of you have seen the movie Spaceballs, then you know that the combination 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 isn't that great for a luggage combination or air supply, and I hope you know this even if you haven't seen the movie. But luckily for us, a lot of smart people put their heads together, and in 2006, they extended the protocol to support two-factor authentication with smart cards. Smart cards are physical tokens like the one I have here that can support cryptographic operations and store credentials. So the user can use a simple PIN code, forego the password, and use the smart card in order to authenticate to Kerberos. Now, this seems a lot more secure because we got rid of passwords, which were the issue. But along came an attacker that noticed that the smart card uses RSA encryption with a padding scheme that is vulnerable to the Bleichenbacher attack. And the Bleichenbacher attack has been around for over 25 years. And since then, there have been many different reincarnations. This is only a partial list, and these reincarnations have attacked protocols like SSL and TLS. But we haven't seen any attacks on the Kerberos protocol, and this begs the question, why? And so it's not that easy to find oracles in the Kerberos protocol, and that's because there aren't any error messages. The connection simply times out, and unluckily for us, it times out before the RSA decryption occurs. So timing analysis is also out. We perform the decryption on the smart card, and therefore microarchitectural side channels are also problematic. If we think about RSA decryption in terms of layers, then we will notice that the unpadding layer is actually performed on the client, and that we can attack with a microarchitectural side channel. So we targeted the non-constant time implementation in the unpadding layer in Windows, and we used the flush and reload attack technique to do this. And while it did give us a solution, it was still very noisy, and we had to deal with it. So what do we need in order to perform the Bleichenbacher attack? Well, we need a padding oracle with feedback, which we have. We need to be able to modify the ciphertext. And since the Kerberos protocol runs on a non-secure network, then inherently we can find a way to modify the ciphertext. The Bleichenbacher attack is known as the million message attack, which means we need to be able to send a lot of messages. And since the attack does not actually recover the private key, it only recovers one instance. And for Kerberos, this means that it's a token with a lifetime of 10 hours. This means that we need to be able to send these messages fast. So now we have two issues that we need to solve: sending a large number of messages and doing it fast. And the user generates these messages by simply using the network and accessing the different resources. But if we wait for the user to generate enough messages, then we will probably exceed the time limit of 10 hours. And so we introduced a harmless-looking malicious site that would generate these messages for us with a single PIN code entry from the user, and also hide this from the server. Now, even though we repeatedly generated these messages, we need to know whether this is fast enough. And the short answer is that it's sometimes fast enough, but only for some of the messages. And we created a simulator of a perfect oracle and ran the attack on 40,000 messages generated by the KDC. And we found that for a fair amount of these messages, we were able to decrypt them in less than 20,000 queries. And once we've decrypted a token in Kerberos, we can use this token to access the victim, the user, the admin's resources. And we actually only need one deciphered token to perform the attack. So let's take a closer look at the Bleichenbacher attack. The padding structure constraint gives us a range for the original message. The first step of the attack is to find an initial multiplier that will help us reduce the possible range for the original message. The second stage is to find additional multipliers, which will perform the range reduction and allow us with each positive result to further reduce the range until we can recover the original message. And I can give you a lot of different reasons, technical reasons for why the oracle will be noisy. But basically, it's a lot like eating cookies. It gets really messy, and there are false negatives, there are false positives. But as we saw before, the range is only reduced for positive results. Therefore, our attack can handle false negatives. And we want to lower the probability of a false positive. Traditional methods include repetition of the positives, but we wanted to improve this. So we took a second look at our oracle, and we noticed that it wasn't actually a binary oracle, and that we could only repeat some of these positive messages, positive results. And we created a tailored repetition algorithm. We focused our attack on the fast subset and performed one attempt for 17 messages. And we were successful for 15 of these cases. And for the other two cases, we encountered a false positive. So we realized that we needed to be able to detect false positives after the fact. And so we noticed that in the second stage of the attack, if we encountered a long list of false results, then we had probably encountered a false positive because it was very unlikely to get such a large number of false results in a row. But since the state had changed, we needed to be able to perform a traceback. And so we saved the previous states and detected the false positives. And once we did, we reverted to a previous state. This method allowed us to get results that were much closer to that of the perfect oracle. Now we're left with one issue. How do we actually know whether a message belongs to the fast subset? Well, we noticed that there's a correlation between the attack steps and that a fast initial search would probably lead to a fast range reduction. And we used this in order to classify the different messages. And this way, we could detect a fast message early and abort if we didn't have a fast message. We ran this experiment for 3 days, and we found 3 messages. And for all 3 messages, both the detection and the deciphering took less than 20 hours, which is less than a day. So to recap, we broke the Kerberos authentication protocol, and we made the Bleichenbacher attack more practical. We used this in order to perform an end-to-end impersonation attack on Windows. And then we had the user enter one PIN code entry. We had one harmless-looking malicious site, and after 1 day, we got full control. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the talk, and you're welcome to look at the code at the following Git link, and also welcome to ask me questions.